Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Franklin County's #1 rated sports show, the best damn sports show in Franklin County. I am the Nighthawk, along with our studio director, the executive director, Miss Elizabeth Malone, pulling down nighttime duty. And on the panel this week, to my immediate right, my pal, the Duke, and to my far right, a gentleman who I did not expect to see. He told me, and I quote, "I will not be here next week."
I think he said, for the record, I think he said he will not be here unless they canceled his meeting.
He did predict a nor'easter. So, David, I guess word came into Duke that you were coming, did not make it down to the Bay State.
Yeah, I made that mistake a couple of weeks ago. I had a GMC meeting on one of the days we had a snowstorm, and I was the only one to go down there. But it was only in Burlington.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So this time I made sure to double check, and I called the hotel at about 11:30 because that's when I was going to leave. I was going to try to get there before rush hour. And they said, no, they haven't canceled it. And then I called my folks up from Cadillac, and they said, well, we'll let you know. And then they called back about 1 and said, yeah, we canceled it.
And this is today?
For today's meeting, yeah. Because I was going to go down last night. My 2 daughters live down there. I have a daughter that lives in Quincy and another one in Providence.
Okay.
So, but anyway, I'm not sorry that I didn't have to drive all down to Boston and back.
It sounds like the snow is moving in there tonight at some point.
I was looking at a picture today of Nationals Park, obviously in Washington, D.C.
D.C. got pretty good snow.
Snow-covered ball field, and they're scheduled to play an exhibition game, I think, next week, the 27th, against the Twinkies.
Be gone.
They open the season in Cincinnati, but they do have an exhibition game scheduled. So
snow won't last too long.
And just to let you guys know, so I don't pull the rug from underneath your feet, enjoy the beauty of our set here, because we have very few shows left in the studio.
How many more do you know?
Oh, I would say maybe
into April. Who knows?
Into April, and Elizabeth has told me there'll be 1 week when all the equipment has to be moved out, so they'll not have a show 1 week in April. So, as Elizabeth knows, I'm not subject to change all that greatly. So I'm just kind of absorbing the nostalgia of this place before we get into the new studios.
This place has treated us very well.
Yeah,
How about...
I was up there Monday night. We had a board of directors meeting, and needless to say, it's beautiful, spanking new, smells great, and all that stuff.
Well,
However,
it's going to be weird.
It's like, this place to me is like an old bedroom slipper.
So the first new show over there, probably May, probably not.
No, I would
late
say
April?
probably like April 21st, 2nd, whenever the calendar says.
18, and I'm hoping to be back for April 18.
Yeah.
April 18 and the 25th of the last 2 April shows.
Yeah. So, no, this place has done us well.
And thanks again to BFA. BFA's been more than good to us.
So, okay, David, since you weren't supposed to be here, I'm going to let you pick out the first topic.
Well, I think that's easy. The biggest upset in the history of sports.
Period.
Boy, I guess you can make that claim, huh?
I mean...
Should we blame Sports Illustrated for this with a nice Virginia cover a little while ago?
Beautiful. Hey, you know what? Those guys from UMBC...
David, let me stop you. Are you telling me right now you watched the game?
I did.
Are you serious?
I did.
I said, and I quote to myself, who would be stupid enough to waste their time to watch it? I'm assuming it might have been a 24-point spread in that game.
I'm not sure I looked at that. That's probably a good 20 or so.
The interesting thing with that game, to give you my expert analysis.
Okay, well, thank you.
is that what happened is UMBC plays really good defense. And they were playing with house money. And Virginia was flat anyway, which happens a lot with these 16-1 things. Get your picture on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You think you're going to waltz right in. As the game wore on, because it was at halftime, it was still 21.
It was tied. 21-21.
Those Hoyles or Troyles or whatever his name is, number 10 for UMBC.
Jordan Lyles, I think.
Lyles.
Yeah.
he had the most incredible game going, and it just kept. It was like watching an avalanche come at you, and you just say, "Well, it's not going to get here."
Yeah, I was watching it too. I mean, you kept waiting for Virginia
To
hey guys,
counterpunch.
finally take command, and it just never.
With about
never
10
happened.
minutes to go, they were down about 15 points, and you go, I don't think they're going to do it.
Guess what? UMBC might win this game. Win
And-
the game. They won going away.
To give an analogy from a game that I saw 12 years ago at
Live in Worcester, Mass.
live in Worcester, Mass, a very similar game to when UVM beat Syracuse. Syracuse played slow the whole game, never ran it up. UVM only had 5 starters. If they'd have done a little homework, they'd have realized that their bench wasn't very deep. But they kept playing the same exact way, and that's the same thing that Virginia did. They never adapted.
Yeah.
They never adjusted to what UMBC does well. And let's face it, they had the game of their life. They shot, 60%, 50% from 3 points?
Yeah.
David, when I heard UMBC won, I didn't know the score at that point, and I just assumed they threw in a buzzer beater to win. But
Good
what was
assumption.
more shocking to me when I saw was a 20-point victory.
It
In the
was a
second half, you
rout.
ready for this? It was 21-21 at the half. Second half, 53, 33 UMBC. Guess what Virginia was giving up for obviously the whole game average for 30-plus games in the season?
50 points, wasn't it?
53 points. Exactly what UMBC got in the second half.
So, Duke, how much heat did the coach of Virginia get after
Oh,
the game?
he's a good guy. He was, for the record, Tony Bennett. He's a good guy. He's a pretty religious guy. He was very gracious. I mean, you can imagine some coaches would
But
have had a tough time
listen,
with that.
I do not-
But how much? I guess I didn't answer your question. He was very gracious. He said, you never. That's why they play the game. But
I talk a lot of
I don't think
sports
he'll get
with
a lot
you,
of grief.
but rarely do I talk major D1 basketball.
Yeah.
But you mentioned to me maybe even 3 weeks ago, watch out, this Virginia team's a pretty good ball club.
oh, sure. Well, in fact, at least I think he said Duke. They're the obvious team to win it, and I backed off. I said they're certainly well capable, and I hope they do if the Dukies don't.
Now, one thing-
I think it'll get very. They never lose this. This is always hung on Virginia.
Think about it. They
It's
were
on
31
his
and 2.
obit. It's probably the 4th, 5th graph and he's been a very good coach. His father was a coach, I think, at Washington State, maybe.
Yeah.
But just how they lost was just shocking.
David, can you tell me about the Kansas State UMBC game?
Now, that game I
I
didn't
presume
watch.
you watched that.
I watched most of it.
That game
Tight
there.
Tight game.
Well, I'll tell you what the
Just didn't
difference
shoot.
was, though.
Didn't make enough baskets, obviously.
They didn't.
We
make,
have a call.
we do
They
have a
didn't
call.
make their baskets. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Good evening. You are the first caller tonight on the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Hello.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Good evening. Well, kudos to the Nighthawk, first off, because David McWilliams gave me a cell phone picture tour of the new facility that you're moving into in late April. And I know Nighthawk was an integral part of putting that all together.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's a building that cost over $1 million, and I drove by it and just looked at the outside of it. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
And based on the pictures I've seen of the inside and the space that you have compared to what you've got now, I mean, you're going big time.
Yeah, right. Myself, David McWilliams, and Elizabeth Malone was kind of like the team
Like you guys are the key guys.
that put a lot of time and effort into this, and it was a education, to say the least. I just thought it would be a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am type thing. Here's the land, put up the building.
Probably a
But
lot less expensive,
The permit process is mind-boggling, and I'm sure David can attest to that.
Nothing you can relate to.
No.
David just put an addition on his building, which coincidentally, David had the same architect and the same contractors we had. We had Weeman Lamphere architect and Stewart Construction. And the building literally was just handed over to us last Friday. But now we're awaiting furnishings and equipment. But it's got a unique look about it. It's not.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, it's not a
very nice
square
looking
boxy
building.
thing, and it's in a great location, Leonard. I mean, to me, that's the heart of Franklin County shopping district. Some may beg to differ. It's Main Street, but me thinks it's the north part of the town, and it's literally right to the foot, a half mile, right from Route 7 up into Franklin Park West.
All right.
Now, I learned a little bit about the finances of this thing, and David, I was talking with David, and he said that Comcast has about roughly, rough numbers, 26% of the city. And their numbers everywhere else are not great at all. They're very minuscule.
That I don't know.
And anybody who has Comcast pays a certain fee every month for you folks.
Yeah, the peg fee.
Right. And so obviously cable saturation is a key long-term to the financial viability of your operation. But I was talking with somebody yesterday who was involved with the operation, but from afar. And he says that your facility is going to be so modern that people will want to come in and use your facility just to record, not necessarily for broadcast, but just to record for something else, for some other purpose.
Yeah, well, I'll leave that up to the boss lady of exactly what's going to go on up there. But, as far as the future of cable, in fact, I brought this up at the Monday night meeting. Vermont is the second oldest state in the country, only second to the state of Maine. That's a downside of many, many issues. However, when it comes to cable, that's a good thing because older folks tend not to cut the cord. And Franklin County, in fact, is one of the older counties in the state of Vermont. Our numbers have been very strong over the years and have not seen a decline.
What numbers are you talking about now?
Talking about percentage of people
of our subscription, of our viewership. Yeah.
Well, your biggest audience is the city of St. Albans.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
26. I was told 26%, roughly, rough numbers. Everywhere else, it's single digits.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Leonard. The new Xfinity platform, I don't know how you can get it any easier. It works great. You can do all your internet-based stuff, your Netflix, all that crap, YouTube, and the movies, and you get all the shows. Since they switched to the Xfinity, I don't know how it could be any easier and any better to use.
Well, I tell you what's coming apparently now. I called Comcast the other day, and I was I wedged them a little bit to get a decrease in my monthly fee, and I was successful. And I asked them specifically about MLB extra innings and high def. And you're going to get all the games in high def this year, Nighthawk.
Leonard, that started last year, but the bad side of this is every team has a dedicated channel for high def, your own home announcers. The downside is this: you have to watch it live, okay? You
can't DVR?
Right. Those particular channels, you cannot DVR. Now, like you've seen in the past, you look at your nightly lineup and whatever channel it may be on, yes, you can DVR those.
So if the Yankees are on...
You cannot DVR an MLB extra innings channel.
Not the dedicated channel to like the Atlanta Braves. Now, you can go on that same channel night after night and get your Braves in high def. However, if you go to like channel 535, it may be standard. And you're just like me. I don't want to be sitting in my house at 7:05 during the summer watching a 3.5-hour baseball game live. I like being on the golf course. I'll DVR it and watch that baseball game recorded in an hour and a half.
Well, maybe that'll change. Who knows?
But I also think it's also that way with the NHL too, Leonard.
I'm not too. For obvious reasons, I'm not really too hot on the NHL right now.
You and me both. I dug this out of the closet tonight to wear it one last time. But David mentioned about the Xfinity. I mean, you can grab your remote control and say, Last Train to Clarksville by the Monkees on YouTube. And within seconds, you've got
there.
that video.
Well, I can do that. I have Dish for 2 years for $69 a month. I can do that with Dish.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea of what's going on out there in the marketplace. But, I mean, anyway, enough of that. But congratulations. I know you were an integral part of that happening, and you deserve a lot of credit.
Thank
Because that's
you.
a nice thing that exists out there. It's a nice building. And I know your broadcast, your studio is twice as big as what you got now.
I would say 4 times.
4 times?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Anyway, now a couple of phenoms. 2 different ways to go about this. Now, the Braves sent Acuna down, as you would have expected.
Yep.
Because they can keep him in the minors until April 13th and control him for 1 more year. Now, the guy has been compared. I'm not. This is not me. I don't know. This might be blasphemy. But there's guys comparing him to Hank Aaron. The noise that the ball makes off his bat. I mean, the guy last year went from A to AA to AAA in 1 year. At each level, he performed better. He went to the Arizona Fall League. He was the MVP. He went to the Grapefruit League, and for people with enough bats, he's got the highest batting average, 4 home runs, and they sent him down a few days ago. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, he doesn't. It's going to be quite remarkable if he turns out to be a bust, because he really looks like the real deal. He's a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
And when they hear the bat hit the ball, they just stop. And he's only 20 years old, just turned 20.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to even have a bigger physique down the road. So we'll see what happens. And but something I'm more excited about even than baseball right now is the NFL draft. Now, with the trades that the Browns have made recently here in the last 2 weeks, if you can believe them, all the pundits say they have to pick a quarterback at number 1 now. And that leaves the running back from Penn State to the Giants, if they want him. And if they do not decide to trade down and maybe pick up 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, and maybe a 1 next year, if they don't elect to do that, I still maintain they'll pick the running back from Penn State at number 2 if he's there.
You know, David, Leonard's got a man crush on Saquon Barkley out of
Well,
Penn
he's
State.
a Hall of Famer, apparently.
Okay.
I mean, he's the best running back, they're saying, of his generation.
No.
I mean, and he's a character person. Of course, he could get hurt. But, the guy at the combine, he runs like a receiver. He's got hands like a receiver. He's like 220 pounds, and he's got soft hands. I mean, he would make the Giants, he'd give them an option they haven't had for years.
Leonard, I certainly concur with everything you say. However, the big picture of things is we're a 3-13 football team. We're very bad in very many positions. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm breaking news, that what is going to be occurring with the New York Giants' 2nd overall pick. They're going to be trading down to the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have the 12th overall pick, and here's what we're going to get in return. We're going to give them our number 2 pick. We're going to acquire the Bills. They have 2 number 1 picks this year, the 12th position and the 22nd position. We're going to get their 2nd round pick, which is 56.
So we're going to get 12 and 22 in the 1st round.
Yes, sir. 56 in the 2nd round, and
plus our number 2 in the 2nd round.
And the Bills have the 1st pick in the 3rd round. We'll pick that up. So you're probably wondering, going down to that spot, who will the Giants take at number 12? Look for Marcus Davenport. He's a defensive end out of University of Texas, San Antonio. And
what position does he play?
Defensive end. And the 22nd pick, a kid by the name of Rashad Evans, linebacker out of Alabama. So you team him up with Alex Ogletree, who we picked up from the Rams two weeks ago. And again, we've talked ad nauseum how stinky the Giants' offensive line is, and it's true. But that linebacking core is just as bad as our offensive line, and that needs a lot of work. We need volume picks, and I love Shaquan Barkley and the kid from Quentin Nelson, who I would love to have, the offensive guard from the...
They say that Chubb is really good, too.
And Bradley Chubb, defensive end out of North Carolina State, will be a top 5 pick.
The experts are saying that these quarterbacks are not the likes.
Right. Well, I agree with that.
These
I don't
quarterbacks
think
aren't
this
like
isn't the
Dan
class
Marino
of 2004 when you had Roethlisberger and Rivers
Right.
and
They aren't
and
that good.
Eli and those guys.
The Buffalo Bills have a crush on strong arm quarterback Josh Allen out of Wyoming. And that's, of course, you look at the Bills, who do they have for quarterback, Leonard, right now? They let go of
Anybody?
Tyrod Taylor, and they
Taylor's
signed backup A.J. McCarron, former quarterback out of Alabama, but he's been a backup with the Bengals for about 4 years. They have nothing.
So they got nothing
So they're
right
going
now.
to try very hard to get the Giants' number 2 pick. I'm thinking the Browns, Leonard, will be taking Sam Darnold, quarterback out of Southern Cal, with the first overall pick.
Well,
I don't
no,
I think the Giants are
obviously,
going to take Barkley.
obviously, nobody knows. I made that quite clear a couple of weeks ago. I mean, these mock drafts are worthless. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I think, Leonard, the Giants are going to take Barkley.
I feel that way too. He's potentially a Hall of Fame player. At number 2, if he's available, he is the best player on the board. He's a character person. And you give the Giants a legit running back behind a revamped offensive line with their receiving core, I think, wow. I mean, Eli looks pretty good.
Leonard, I've been working the phones all day. I consider myself a credible source.
Right.
And I'm going to look straight in that camera right now. And I'm not saying that the trade with the Bills will go down, but I'm going to guarantee New York Giant football fans that the Giants will not keep their number 2 overall pick.
Now, this is coming from the guy
Oh, no.
who said if UVM football does not come back, he'd jump off a tall building.
I did say that. There's still time for UVM football to come back.
Anyway, so enough for sport.
Now, Leonard, let me just say this: we're only like 5 weeks away from the NFL
I
draft,
know.
so it is coming quick.
No, and I tell you what, I've had immense pleasure watching golf so far.
Oh,
I mean,
the
we've
golf
had some
is good.
Yeah, great.
great Sunday outings, and of course, I'm a Mickelson fan, and he got beat today 3-2 in the match play. But
Who beat him? Leonard, who
think
beat him?
he's had a great year. He's in the FedEx Cup standings. He's like number 5 now.
Leonard,
I mean,
who
he's had
beat
a
him?
great year for a 47-year-old guy like him.
Who beat him today?
Oh God, nobody. Like a 49th ranked guy, ranked 49th. I mean, I have to go on and look.
That's
I don't
okay.
know. He got beat 3-2.
He got
match play. You make a few birdies, you get beat.
He got a little grief.
But Mickelson is, he's working out twice a day, and he's got a new coach. And for 47 years old, I mean, he's had a hell of a year. Already.
Absolutely. Tiger's not doing too bad himself.
Leonard,
either.
I don't want to publicly admit this, but I told Duke right around the 1st of January that Phil Mickelson is now irrelevant.
Oh no, that's not so.
Oh, he's playing his best golf in 5-6 years.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's had what, like a 4th? He's had a 4th. He's had a 2nd.
He's had a
He's
win.
had a 1st, and he's had a 6. I think he, in like 5 or 6 tournaments. I mean, and if he could hit the iron like Tiger hits that driving iron there, that 2-iron, boy, he'd be something else. I mean, I don't know what it is about Phil. I can't figure out how good he would have really have been, and he's obviously very good. He's got 43 titles, tournament wins now in the PGA. But I mean, if he was as tight with his swing on his wedges and even his 3-wood. If he could be that tight with his swing on his driver, he'd be something. But whatever it is about his driver, he's off balance. He just has never been a real good. He's long, but he's just not consistent with the driver.
Charles Howell beat him.
Oh, yeah,
Was it Charles Howell? He was ranked
Howell
really high.
59.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And but
a field of
am I
64,
wrong or
I think.
right? I haven't followed this too closely.
Dustin Johnson lost today.
But you're not out of it, right? If you lose the first day.
Well, it's you got three. You got 3 matches guaranteed.
Oh, really?
And then the top 16 come out of the pool.
Keegan
Right.
Bradley got a halve. He and John Rum halved. I saw the end of Keegan's match.
Keegan Bradley did something that I do. On the last hole, Leonard, Keegan Bradley.
From today?
Yeah.
When he almost sank the chip?
No. What Keegan Bradley did.
Ben?
Keegan Bradley was ahead by 1 going on the last hole. And that last hole, there's a lot of trouble. So what's Keegan Bradley do? He takes an iron out to put it right down the middle of the fairway.
He screws up.
And you know where he does? He screws it up and he hits a big shankopotamus and puts it behind a tree.
Oh, really?
And then he hits the next one over the green and he almost chipped it in.
He did almost chip in. But they have the one.
But they ended up having the hole.
Right.
But he was sputtering, and he was hot afterwards because he should have won that.
Yeah, really.
If you hit your driver and it goes in the woods, you don't mind.
I was not I admire Tiger for what he did in his prime. I never was a Tiger fan, but I'm actually rooting for him now. I really do. He's so good for golf, obviously.
Well, he is. I think he's still got a little case of the nerves.
Yeah, I think so too.
And because he's been close now. The last 2 weeks, he's been either in the lead or one shot out.
1 shot off on when he screwed up his drive on what 16.
The old Tiger Woods never would have done that. The old Tiger Woods would have put the hammer down and
But
won.
still, he's playing way better than I ever thought he would.
Way better than we ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
Okay, Leonard.
Well, I'm not quite done. If you won't push me off here.
Okay.
I want to talk a little politics. Obviously, I read Richard's article today in the Messenger, and very good. It talked about all the changes going on, with Carolyn Brannigan not running for re-election. It didn't take long for Corey Parent to jump in the Senate race. I'm sure there'll be some Democrat that jumps in. I don't know who it'll be.
Of course, another change. Of course, I called Sheriff Norris Monday, who, of course, didn't return my call. So he finally.
Bob Norris has already, in the Messenger today, it was out that he's not running.
Right. Thanks, Sheriff, for telling me that. But that's okay. I wonder if my call prompted him to, in fact.
I don't know who else.
Really, that's the second time I called
I'm wondering if anybody will come out to challenge Roger now.
I would think with the sheriff not running, you'd think there might be some more folks jumping in. But at this point, Roger's looking pretty good. But there might be some other people.
Well, Roger is a known commodity. I mean, he's a lifelong resident of St. Albans, and he's been in law enforcement for a long time, and he's well known, and he's been a great school resource officer there at Town Central, and I think he'd be very hard to beat at this point. But Corey Parent is still. You may remember 3-4 years ago. I won't mention. I mentioned his name back then, but I won't mention his name now. But he told me that he said Corey Parent could be governor someday, and Corey Parent is just something about him that is hard to dislike. He is one of the most likable politicians I've ever met, or people for that matter. And I don't know who the Democrats will run against, but we'll see. I just think he's he's an up and comer, and we'll see what happens. But that's my political commentary, and I will let you go.
Thank you so much, Leonard.
I'd say it'd be pretty safe money to put on the 2 Republican Senate candidates, Messrs. Brock and Parent. I would say that would be very safe money at this point.
In Franklin County, I totally agree. And with the governor we have in tow, and I have to, one other thing, of course you know this, I've mentioned it many times, Shumlin. If you even got close to Shumlin, you had to wipe the slime off. That man there, I mean, he, as far as I'm concerned, Shumlin is nothing but a sleazeball. Always was, and you got to wipe yourself. You got to wash your hands after you get close to him. And now
Hopefully
we
he's not
learned
listening.
that during after he was told that Jay Peak was, not legit, so to speak, he's staying in Kuros's Trump Towers condos on 2 different occasions. Even, I mean, enough said. I'll leave you on that note.
Good night.
See you, Leonard.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Now,
Can we go back to basketball just for
wait, I have
yep.
to say one thing, and I should have said it before the start of the show. I just want to do a shout out to 2 viewers. One, he called Wesley Decker, who you know well.
Wesley, I saw Wesley again at the home show, I think.
Wesley called,
Very
left
kind.
me a very gracious message congratulating us on our 15th anniversary.
Very nice.
A very long message, and Wes has been a very long time viewer.
Yeah,
so
great
Wesley,
guy.
thanks.
Thanks,
Great
Wes.
guy.
Thanks, Wesley.
I partake in a football fantasy league against him and his son.
Oh, is that right?
And the other one is my Uncle Bob Smith. I was down there this weekend, visited them and Aunt Kathleen, and Uncle Bob's in his 90s now, still hanging in there, and he's a longtime viewer of this show.
Thanks,
Hi, Uncle Bob.
Thanks,
Love you,
Bob.
man. And
I
if you remember,
appreciate that.
half century ago, David will remember. Do you remember Worthmore?
Yes,
on
I do.
Lower Weldon Street, where the police department,
Difficulty in knocking it down.
They couldn't blow that building up.
he was the manager of Worthmore.
Is that
for
right?
a number of years. Yeah, that was a huge building.
I
there.
remember Bob especially as like assistant city manager or
Then
whatever.
he went on to work at Grossman's down in South Burlington,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure, what was that, a
Lumberyard.
Oh, big
lumberyard?
lumber. Yeah, big lumber.
Then he
place.
took the job as city treasurer for a number of years. So
There was a huge Grossman's. It brings me back to growing up, just going into Boston from Hingham on the good old Southeast Expressway. In Quincy, in fact, there was a Grossman's, just took up a huge hunk of property right off the Southeast Expressway.
So thanks, Uncle Bob.
Yep.
I'll see you this weekend.
And everybody else, thanks for watching us, folks.
So-
Feel free to call.
Duke.
I was just going to say,
golf.
you mentioned the UVM Syracuse game, the UMBC, also, for that matter, the UVM at Duke game reminded me of the U.
Yes. But those games were tight. This
Those games
game
were tight.
here.
But it was the same thing. Duke just kind of standing around, UVM looking much quicker. But one more game that the UMBC Virginia game reminded me of, a horrible memory, although the Dukies won it. This was I think Duke was the overall #1 seed. This was back in the days of my Florida spring training trips. And I was in Huck, I don't think it was the year, it wasn't the year I was with you, but I'm sure I had caught an Expos game at the late great West Palm Beach Municipal Stadium, and the Dukies had an afternoon game. Pretty sure they were the overall #1 seed, playing supposedly the worst team there. I give you the Mississippi State Delta Devils. As you might imagine, an all-black team. All-black team, incredibly quick. And then I think I first went into a black bar. I was just looking for a bar, feeling, maybe this isn't the best place to be rooting for whatever. I found another bar. But, man, this is a torturous game. For like 3 quarters, these guys hung tight again. Just real quick, Dukie's standing around. Finally, maybe in the last 5 minutes, Duke got a little daylight, won by probably no more than 10 points. But the UMBC Virginia game brought me back to Duke, Mississippi State.
Well, the K-State UMBC game
Yeah, tight game.
reminded me a lot of the UVM Michigan State game
Oh, yeah.
from 12 years ago. The difference is that I am sure that the K-State coach watched a lot of that film from the Virginia game, and they made sure to contest the shots further out and make these guys work harder for their shots. And Lyles had a much tougher time getting open. And when a team shoots 20% from the floor, it's not just because they're having a bad day. Those guys were all over them. And that's the thing. If UMBC plays these top 5 teams 30 times, they probably win maybe once.
Sure.
And there's a reason why the other guys are better. Yeah. But you know what's changed so much in basketball is years ago, up to about 20 years ago, your best teams had the height. They had a big center. They had a couple of big Kevin McHale type forwards.
David, that's why the three-point line was put there, because you're absolutely 110% correct. The team that had the best big man always won.
Now,
The floor is spread out.
don't even need a big
The
man.
three-point line has saved the game of basketball. Not only has it saved it, but it's become such a popular sport. NBA has never been more popular than it is today. Also, I want to interrupt. I'm a little disappointed in you guys. I did not get the memo to wear a green flannel shirt
Good looking
tonight. I mean, you could have called, left a message. It's green flannel shirt night tonight. So go ahead.
Well, it's leftover from St. Patrick's.
Okay. I did wear a green shirt on St. Patty's Day.
I think I did too. I was out parking cars at the Rotary.
Uh-huh.
The other big thing that had changed is that with these mid-major teams now, back 10, 15 years ago, the mid-majors really weren't that good.
No.
But now there are so many of these teams that are really not that far away. And deck is really stacked against them. The big boys, your Power 5 conferences set up the whole tournament so that their teams win. These underdogs really have to they're playing 3 times as hard as they need to.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it's interesting, and I'm sure nobody's bracket in the whole country. Who would have had UMBC 2,500 to 1?
There's nobody. There's obviously not one person
nobody
in the country
ESPN
who's got
bracket.
this.
Now, I don't follow this tournament all that closely. However, watching sports and stuff, the majority of pundits have picked Duke to win this tournament.
Which is worth nothing, seeing as Virginia was the overall top seed. So that's
Is there
worth nothing.
Duke a
Dukies are
particular
good.
game that you're looking forward to seeing aside from your
Get
team,
more
Thursday,
nerd.
Friday?
No, but the line's absurd. I'm always complaining about lines. Who's got the biggest line by twofold coming into the Sweet 16? Duke, of course, 11.5.
I was going to say 12.
That's an absurd line. Syracuse plays ugly. I mean, sure, they might win by that much. They could also lose. Syracuse plays ugly. I can just picture that game. It'll be a wicked, ugly game, ironically. Syracuse's long time zone, Boeheim's the biggest zone proponent in the country, will be matched by Duke. Duke, Coach K, who hates zones because they were getting just killed man-to-man, went to a zone, and they've been playing a pretty good zone. Mm-hmm. But it'll be an interesting game. But I think that line's absurd.
Syracuse was probably number 64 in getting.
Oh yeah,
in
a lot of people. They probably got the most
Their
grief
record was
about getting
18
in.
and 13.
And what have
or
they
something.
done? Yeah, they
David,
were the last team.
Like UMBC, I think.
Yeah, they had to play a play-in
I think
game.
the Orange are playing with monopoly money themselves right now.
Which isn't usually like them because they're usually pretty. They're big time.
Oh, absolutely.
But watch out. You know that I expect an ugly, tough game.
Yeah.
The winner will get the winner of the Kansas-Clemson game. Interesting. The Midwest bracket has 3 ACC teams in it. The only other one is Florida State in another bracket. But yeah, there's some obviously surprise teams that made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, for
Should
sure.
be fun.
For
Well,
sure.
they let's see what else is new. The baseball is just about ready.
I continue to pay zero attention to baseball.
Duke, as well as you should. I'm in the same boat as you and David are.
Zero.
Yankees, Red Sox, National. 3 of the top teams of all of baseball.
Yeah.
What do we really have to worry about? Now, David, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you last week. I'm looking at the depth chart of the Yankees, and they still have Tyler Wade over Neil Walker at second. So what's the story?
Looks like Tyler Wade's probably going to make it.
And is he a homegrown body, or they brought him up through the minors?
He was up for a cup of coffee last year.
Okay.
He's good.
And Duke, just one question on the Red Sox.
My question about the Blake Swihart, does he make it? And if he does make it, is Brock Holt history? That's about my only thought on the Red Sox.
That's what I told you a week or two ago. Yeah. If Swihart makes it, Holt was gone. Yeah. So my question to you on the Red Sox is the bottom end of the rotation are kind of banged up.
Yeah.
Right now, you've got Sale, Price, and Porcello.
Yeah.
For sure, the starting 3.
Yeah.
Former number 1 pick, Brian Johnson, will be in the starting rotation.
Yeah.
And some kid named, well, he's not a kid, he's actually 29.
The guy from the Mexican League?
Yeah, Velasquez.
Yeah, he's been getting lit up.
Yeah. So tell me the status of Stephen Wright, Erod, and Drew Pomerantz.
Pomerantz I don't have much of a handle on ever since he just went down and said it's no big deal. Rodriguez, I think, is making progress, and I think Wright's been at least pitching batting practice.
Okay.
I don't have a handle on Pomerantz. All I know is he didn't think it was any big deal. I don't think there are any. I think all those guys are back relatively soon.
Before May 1st.
I guess.
Now, Erod, is there ever a period of time he's not injured?
Too bad. I think when he's right, he's a good pitcher.
Because I've read stuff, he's an extremely soft guy. He just won't.
Your old buddy Clay Buchholz just signed a
Somebody
contract
signed to
with
do a
Kansas
minor
City.
league
He
contract.
did, okay.
$1 million and a half.
Okay.
What about the old third baseman who married the Boston sportscaster?
Oh,
You pay attention to him. Is he still kicking around?
oh, geez, any other day I could tell you who he was. I predicted All-Star for this guy. Oh, what, third baseman from the Yankees?
Will Middlebrooks.
Will
Hey,
Middlebrooks.
amazing.
He's
Great.
with San Diego, right?
Oh, no, he's
Somebody?
he's been drinking coffee at every
Maybe
shot.
he's minor league somewhere.
Now, you know who got a deal was the Orioles picked up Cobb for like 3 years,
4 years, $59 million.
$20 million a year, which really
No,
isn't-
that's
15
14.75.
Said 4 years, 60 million.
Oh, yeah. excuse me.
14.75. Why would you want to go pitch in Oriole or Camden Yards? That's a tough place to pitch.
No, but the Orioles they've picked up a few guys.
Andrew Kashner, who's about as tall as this room here, he's a pretty durable pitcher. But
the Orioles don't have a lot of pitching.
they don't have a lot of pitching in the same division as the Yankees and Red Sox. And,
But Buck Showalter is, to me, baseball's best manager.
yeah.
And
Good
I was
manager.
looking at Kansas City picked up a lot of guys. When the prices came down, because they got Moustakas back, and they picked up a few other guys. Who's the biggest guy that's still not signed?
And there's still a ton of guys not signed.
They're weeding down. They're getting
There's
down
still
there
some.
now.
Yeah, I think Cobb was the last guy because Lance Lynn, who I like a lot,
Who did
Somebody
he sign?
grabbed-
signed a
grabbed
one-year
him.
contract with the Twinkies. Might have been a one-year, $15 million contract. So,
So most of any guys of note have finally did get signed.
yeah, there's still
There's a whole pile of medium guys that could be all done.
Who didn't
Dude,
get signed.
let me give you a good example of a player who's been around for a number of years. Very likable guy. Adam
You're not drinking that?
Adam Lynn.
Okay.
Adam
No, you
Lind.
can have it.
Okay, he was a backup guy for the Nats last year. He got in close to 300 at bats, 14 home runs, 50 some RBIs.
Yeah.
One of the most popular guys on the team. He had an option for $5 million, and the club did not pick it up. He signed with the Yankees about a month ago and lasted in their camp for about a week and a half. And this guy has been in the major leagues for about 10 years and has had some pretty good seasons. He's that type of guy that is going to fall through the crack. I mean, again, he hit around 300 last year. So there's still some decent ball players. And it just is leading me up to this upcoming winter. Is what is free agency going to look like with the Bryce Harpers and the Manny Machados of the world? And I don't think Harper will resign
I don't think
with
so
the
either.
Nats because
All right.
Leonard talked about his phenom, Roland Acuna. Well, our player, Victor Robles, 20 years old also, is rated as well, if not higher than Roland Acuna. Well, they sent him down to camp as well 3 days ago. They want him to play AAA Syracuse and play every single day unless somebody gets hurt with a big club. But next year, you're going to see Victor Robles. He'll be 21 at that point as your new right fielder for the Washington Nationals. But I am so anxious to see if there, in fact, going to be a bidding war on Harper. As we mentioned, the big players, the Red Sox and Yankees, do not need outfielders.
So you're psyched about the Red Sox Yankees 2-game
Yeah,
series in London?
Well, they didn't.
I assume that's going to be one home game for each team.
No, Red Sox
No?
have
Is that the Red
Sure.
Sox are conceding 2 home
that
games?
Red Sox and Yankees.
June 19 and 20, 2019, London.
Greg
Two-
Holland hasn't signed yet.
Right. Relief pitcher. June 29th and 30th
Oh, sorry,
at
June
Olympic
29 and
Stadium
30.
in London.
It's Olympic Stadium.
Let's see.
Did the Red Sox home games? Surprised they'd concede 2.
Now, one thing, a carrot they're throwing to the players, they're giving each player $60,000
Are they really?
to since they have to mess up their schedule, which I don't quite understand. Let's do some geography here. New York and Boston to
games.
London is just as far as New York and Boston to Seattle.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense why they have to throw them.
But Hawk, you're telling me the Red Sox home games?
I'm going to try to read this because I thought,
Why wouldn't they just do 1 for each team?
okay, the Red Sox have the option of having both games be Boston home games.
The option? Why would they want that?
I don't know.
Well,
I wonder what they do.
They'll make more money in London than Boston.
Well, you take Boston.
Not a big ballpark.
My God, but Boston, I'm sure, when they have a home game, think of the money they get, 37,000 people.
Well, I would think just all your street people, your merchants and stuff, they can't be happy
David,
about
I'm
that.
going to assume
Two Yankee
Olympic
games?
Stadium holds at least 80,000. That's the soccer stadium, I assume, in London.
I
Yeah,
guess.
well,
You got your tweet machine. Go ahead and tweet that up.
What?
The capacity of Olympic Stadium.
Oh, it's big. It's like 80,000.
yeah.
So it's the soccer stadium?
It's the, no,
Is that where they
it's
play
a,
the football games?
no, they play the football at Wembley.
At Wembley?
This is the stadium they built for the Olympics in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wembley can't be configured for baseball,
Okay. Yeah.
Huh.
but it isn't a done deal yet.
Oh, yeah.
It's
But-
not. It's not a done deal.
But it sounds likely.
I was looking at the free agents. Only one of the top 50 hasn't been signed,
And that's Holland.
and that's Greg Holland.
Greg Holland.
He turned down about a 45 or 50 million deal with the Rockies
Really?
right early on.
Wow. But I assume he regrets that decision?
Well, let me refresh your memory. When the Yankees did the early signing of the first baseman, Mitch Moreland,
When
2
the Red
years
Sox-
at 13, or
when
the Red Sox,
did.
I said, oh, what a steal, what a steal.
Well, he
What
just
if
seems to
Mitch
be
Moreland
lost
was
in
on the
shuffle.
market today?
He'd get $5 million.
$5 million, if lucky,
But
yeah.
he's probably not complaining. He's kind of been the lost.
I mentioned a week or
A
two
lost
ago on the
guy.
show when the Padres picked up aging third baseman Evan Longoria at $20 million a year. At that time, it looked like a pretty good deal for the Padres. Now he's grossly overpaid at that. So, and again, this year may be an anomaly. Next year, if it's 2 years in a row, then you've got a pattern developing.
I don't think it's an anomaly because I think
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay, I want
old
you.
guys aren't getting the money.
I think your top guys will still,
Okay.
including your guy, Mr. Harper.
I'm going to count up to
will
three.
Make millions, but
I'm going to count up to three.
different ball game.
And both you guys at the same time tell me what the average annual salary of Bryce Harper's new contract is going to be on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
33.
30 and 33. Oh, I think you guys are.
You're going to tell us we're low.
You're low.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's an anomaly
know
at
what?
all. I think owners are finally, hate to say they're wising up and stuff, but the money's insane. I think if you're not a top of the line guy, you better consider your earlier offer more than they did this year.
But Bryce Harper, his magic number is his age, 26 years old,
Yeah.
isn't even his prime. However, the downside, look at the games played every year. He's an injury-riddled player.
The other thing is that what teams are going to do now is teams are going to sign their own guys. You know how much money Judge is making this year? $600,000.
Is that,
Wow.
that is
Greg Bird, $500,000. What they'll do, what the teams will do, and I think the agents will recommend it, which they never used to, because if you were a Boris guy, you always played until you got to be a free agent. But now, with the free agents not doing as well, the guys that are getting the good contracts are the teams are signing their own young guys.
Well, let me throw this back at you then, David. Bryce Harper's agent is Scott Boras. Do you think they worked something out just like they did? Scott Boras was the agent for Steven Strasburg. They signed him to a 7-year, $175 million contract, which we may not ever see happen again, that a pitcher signs for 7 years.
I would think 5 years. I think a 5-year deal.
What are you drinking? For
And
Bryce Harper?
and maybe more money. And then, because these guys all get these opt-outs too.
Okay, let me. Viewers, David is nuts. Bryce Harper, minimum, will get a 10-year contract. That is another Nighthawk guarantee.
For 400 mil?
At least $400 million, absolutely. And it may be close.
I wouldn't do it.
So,
I wouldn't give Manny Machado that money either.
And
it's a losing proposition. There hasn't been one of those deals. There hasn't been one that's actually turned out.
And the problem with Harper, again, the Yankees and the Red Sox won't be in the hunt.
No, so
it's going to be the Angels and the Dodgers will be the two teams going after
And the Angels haven't got any money. The Angels are already right at the salary cap, and so are the Dodgers.
Dodgers are over, yeah.
Well, they're under now.
They did get under?
They got under.
They were at 240 last year.
They made that 5-player deal. They got under the salary cap.
Okay.
So, unless they change the system. Of course, they were talking today a lot about this business about the first 2 weeks. If you miss the first 2 weeks, then that's why they sit down Acuna. Then you pick up the extra year.
Yeah.
They're going to have to. The Players Association got fleeced.
Yes, they did.
The last contract.
Yep.
Because all of these things now, the max on the international money, that's made a big difference. That whole international signing pool, because before they could sign, when the Red Sox signed Roseman Castillo to $72 million, it didn't matter. It didn't count against anything. But now, the international pool, you can only spend so much. The free agents, when you give up that number one draft pick, and on top of that, with this change in the cybermetrics and the lack of performance from these old contracts, the players, who was it? One of these guys were saying, maybe it was Peter Gammon said, they were looking for extra meal money, and for an extra $10 a day meal money, they screwed themselves.
Yeah. Duke, I thought of you last night. I was watching the news, and I don't know if it was upstate New York got $65 million for Lake Champlain cleanup or something like that.
So on the New York side, we're talking?
Yeah, I think so. And so I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's good. That sounds like a lot of money. Then it dawned on me, well, David Price almost makes that much in 2 years. And they're going to clean up Lake Champlain with 65. So
Lake Champlain, I think, needs like $1 billion.
At least $1 billion. So, David, I'm going to circle the wagons back because Leonard touched on various subjects, but and we'll let you get to the Patriots, Duke. But the Giants, as we talked about last week, by Friday, once Friday's business day is over, the free agency period's pretty much done.
Is that right? This Friday?
This past Friday. I mean, you still can sign, but any notable player is gone by 5 o'clock Friday.
So there are no real notable players left?
No.
Sue.
Oh, and it looks like today, well, I'll tell you what, it looks like he's going to be signing with the Rams. And, of course, the Rams have the best defensive player in all of football, Aaron Donald, defensive tackle. If they get Sue and Donald, you might actually put the Rams as the number one pick to make it to the Super Bowl because the Rams, with their second-year quarterback, Jared Goff, they score the most points in the NFL.
Well, I think the Rams are feeling this is their
and they've got their running back, Todd Gurley from Georgia. So the Rams are in good shot. But, David, you tell me as a loyal Giant fan if the Giants have gotten any better. First I'll hit
I don't know a lot of these guys they picked up.
Players lost. We talked ad nauseum about how bad their offensive line, but they lost 2 linemen that were credible in center Weston Richburg, Justin Pugh. DJ Fluker's gone. Linebacker Devon Kennard is gone. They let go punter Brad Wing and cornerback due to money. Dominique Rogers-Cromartie.
Where did he go?
He's still out there.
Okay, that must be if he's not signed now, he's not going to get. He's going to be a hanger on.
Yeah. Giants re-signed 5 players. I mean,
all
catch the
fillers.
names. Brett Jones, who will be our new center. John Halapio, John Greco, Kerry Wynn, and Mark Herschlich. Okay?
I've heard of Herschlich.
Right. He's a special teamer.
Yep.
Kerry Wynn's a 4th defensive end. Greco's a backup lineman. Halapio's a backup.
Is Herschlich the kid that had cancer?
From Boston College.
Yeah.
He had, leukemia,
Yeah.
I think he had. Now, we signed a bevy of free agents. Now, of course, we all know about Nate Solder.
He was
The best
offensive lineman.
left tackle available, never made the All-Pro. He's now the highest paid. Again, economics 101, law of supply and demand. So he signed with the Giants 4 years,
$68 million.
$64 million, I think, and about half of that was guaranteed. Now, hang on to your shoes. Jonathan Stewart, who we all know from the Panthers, running back, he's 31 years old.
He's just there to
Clean out that
up the
locker
room.
Yeah. Offensive guard. Okay, this is one I really like. Patrick Omani. Okay, he came from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, do you know who took his spot? The guy we thought we were going to get, Andrew Norwell from the Panthers.
Right.
So the Jags thought so little of this Omani that they cut him. The Giants signed him. Okay, and we got cornerbacks, Teddy Williams, Curtis Riley, B.W. Webb. You can scratch your head right now if you'd like. Wide receiver, Cody Latimer. Linebacker, Kareem Martin from the Cards, who's not bad. He played with James Belcher, who's our new defensive coordinator.
One of the linebackers we got was like a number 3 or 4 pick overall a few years ago. The guy we got from the Rams.
Alec Ogletree was 12th overall from Alabama, and he should have been a top 5 pick, but he had a lot of off-field issues.
Was he the one that had the mask, or was that
no?
That was somebody else.
That was an offensive lineman who signed 12th overall pick with the Dolphins this
Yeah.
past year, and defensive lineman Josh Merrill, who also played with the Cardinals. Okay, as I sit here, are the Giants any better today than they were a week ago? I think not.
Well, a lot of it depends on the draft.
Solder will be our
Solder
new,
will be
and Eric Flowers,
going the right
our
side.
riddled left tackle, will be the right side.
But the draft,
tackle.
I mean, how much good is a draft going to do you this season?
Well, when you're drafting number 2.
Exactly. That's
Okay,
the answer.
it might do you some good.
Listen, when you're drafting number 2,
It better do you some
you
good.
better have a last name of God.
Gettleman said that, because I've read, I don't normally follow the Giants this time of year, but I've been right on it. Gettleman says that with this pick here, the guy's got to be a Hall of Famer and a difference maker, and you can't afford to make a mistake.
Right.
And they think that they can get 2 more years out of Eli.
Mm-hmm.
If they get 2 more years out of Eli, they can fix everything else by...
Yeah. But apparently you weren't watching the show earlier. I've already said
I know, but I don't
Giants
see it.
won't be picking number 2.
Well, they could trade down just a couple of spots and end up with that guard
Quentin Nelson,
or the defensive end Chubb.
Bradley Chubb.
That's
Now,
they
this Quentin
really
Nelson, this is what I read from one of those experts, said Quentin Nelson is the only Hall of Famer out of this draft. This draft is actually rated extremely low. They said it's a very poor draft class.
They are. I was watching a thing last
But again,
night.
you make it sound like these guys are guys. I can't believe the validity you put into pundits and stuff.
Well, let me put it this way.
Every year at this time I ask Mel Kiper, does anybody grade him on, supposed to be the great draft, does anybody check him to see how accurate he is?
But when you have the number 2 pick, it better...
We're talking a draft here.
But let me tell you this. When the Giants drafted Odell Beckham, I'm sitting there thinking, with my paperwork, I like this kid out of Pittsburgh, Aaron Donald. It's an unsexy pick, taking a defensive tackle.
ACC guy.
And I said, But I'm going to go with Donald. And they drafted Odell Beckham out of LSU, and I said, what the hell are you doing? Well, I'm telling you straight up, Aaron Donald is probably the best player in all of football. You know, it's hard to compare, but for the person at their position, Aaron Donald is great. We could have had him.
Well,
and the gaffes, when we drafted Eric Flowers 3 years ago out of Miami, he was our 9th overall pick. You make a major blunder like that sets the program back
big time.
Big time, especially a left tackle. Now, the Rams picked Greg Robinson maybe 5 years ago with the 2nd overall pick. That shows you the value of that position. This guy's a major bust, and they cut him over the winter.
Well, the last time the Giants had the number 2 pick, they took Lawrence Taylor.
It was not a bad pick.
It worked out pretty well.
We're going to do a trivia question. Who was the number 1 pick that year, Duke? And I'll give you a hint where he played his ball. He played for North Carolina.
He also played for North Carolina. You can't mean they couldn't have been both from North Carolina.
I know the guy.
LT was from North Carolina.
Okay. He was a running back. Went to the Saints. George Rogers.
Okay.
Now, where did George Rogers? And he was a great running back.
USC
Not you.
or?
No, he was on the East.
He wasn't UNC.
Tweet machine.
All right.
Okay.
We'll find out. What college did George Rogers?
How about South Carolina?
South
maybe?
South Carolina. Okay, so I'm off by a border.
We don't need it.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
Yeah. And the Patriots, I watch Boston Tonight, whatever the name of that show.
They're getting some pretty bad words these
half
days.
the show is about the Patriots all the time. They give very little to the Red Sox, and granted, it's nested as
their
the Red Sox.
competitor.
Right.
Well, I heard some of Colin Cowherd's show yesterday. He just said he had seen the last. I saw none of these, of course. The Tom versus Time series. Brady's. I don't know if it was on like Netflix or something, but a series on Brady, like kind of a documentary he did kind of on himself or something.
Okay, I have not seen it.
I mean, I didn't see it either. But one of the last comments on the last one was Giselle, his lovely wife, saying, and here's the comment, quoting Tom, just what Tom wanted to do. I just want to go to work and be appreciated and have fun. And Cowherd jumps in and says, boy, Brady and Belichick are not on good terms these days. If they were, had they mended fences, believe me, they would have edited that and gotten that out of there. They were putting great stuff. And Jason Whitlock, who spars with Cowherd, I think, said it's done. Of course, it seems like overreaching, but boy, I mean, there's Boston media. There's just more and more. Just sounds like Brady and Belichick are not in a good place
let me ask
these
you
days.
this.
And Brady also defended Malcolm Butler again the other day.
Signed with the Titans.
Right, but just saying,
Got a pretty good deal for the Titans.
bunch of people, and again, the Patriots secondary was so riddled. Maybe it would have made a difference. Bunch of people think, hey, Belichick, had you played Butler, you'd have another Super Bowl. I'm not sure it's that simple.
Well, one thing people were saying is their defensive coordinator
Matt Patricia
signed with the Lions as head coach, and people were saying, well, why are they all hot and heavy over him? That Patriot defense is terrible.
It was really
and if you
horrible
watch
in the Super Bowl,
David, you could have played quarterback that day. The guy, Nick Foles, a backup quarterback, Foles had no pass rush. He had all the time in the world. You put a mediocre quarterback with no rush, and he's going to look like a star.
The pass rush really
But
hurt.
let me ask you this.
Dante Hightower, of course, that was a big injury for the
Patriots were 2.5 minutes away from a victory, and I would say 80% of the time I would have put my money on Brady to go down and score that touchdown. Because I would bet you any amount of money when they got the ball around the 25-yard line with 2.5 minutes, I said, boy, a script I have seen before. Okay, they had one sack.
They needed a touchdown.
The Patriots offensive line have given up 0 sacks to that point. Both offensive lines were great that day.
Yeah, they got
and
killed.
not only did it get sacked, unfortunately, it was a strip sack. But if the Patriots went down and scored, won by 2 points, would everything be roses right now?
Right. Well, that of course is the line. Winning a Super Bowl covers up a lot of things, but the other day was a little tough. Butler's gone, zero surprise. Danny Amendola, that hurt a little bit. He had taken repeatedly, better deals to stay with the Pats. Sounds like he had enough. He's gone. Deion Lewis, that hurt. Deion Lewis is a very good back for those guys.
Signed with the Titans, I think.
Anyway, but Matthew Slater, I thought he was going to be gone. They re-signed him. I
Did
guess,
Lewis
for 2
also
years.
sign with the Titans?
Maybe. All I
think
know
he
he's
did,
gone.
yeah.
Maybe Titans.
Well, I think part of it is that if you look at the big picture, the Patriots, because they're smarter than everybody else.
they have the luxury of being in the AFC East, for
and,
sure.
and let's face it, the AFC East is weak.
Sucks.
Weak.
Been that way forever.
Pretty weak.
They get by on smoke and mirrors. They've been getting by. They haven't really had. Now, some of the years they're loaded, but some of the years they're not that loaded, and they just get by because they're smarter than everybody else. But once in a while, somebody who's good or lucky beats them. That's how the Giants beat them. That's how the Eagles beat them. Sometimes the teams are better than them. But the Patriots are at least the first or second best team in AFC.
They still look like a
Yeah.
pretty good team. And I think the unfair, and again, I take to heart this criticism. I mean, again, Belichick, it just the line you hear is, it's just been a long time. He's been incredibly successful. People are just tired of him. His way or the highway, just kind of a fatigue factor wearing in. I do think they get a little unfair criticism. They keep getting beat up for Jimmy G. How could what were they supposed to do? Pay this guy $20 million to hang on the
Exactly.
bench? I love this. I see it all the time from some of your best Boston writers. And how could they have let him go? What are they supposed to do with him?
The NFL is
Maybe they could have gotten, maybe they should have traded. I think they should have traded him earlier and gotten more. But
Right.
they're supposed to hang on to him and pay him $20 million.
The
to sit on
NFL
the
is a
bench?
season-to-season employment, okay? That you play for each season.
Yeah.
Well, the current quarterback of the Patriots, what did he do this year? Oh, he won the MVP.
Right,
So
only
you
had
wanna
505 yards
Right.
in the Super
Okay.
Bowl.
Tom Brady, for whatever reason, he might be the only person I've ever known that has actually beaten Father Time. He's not ready.
The
be-
Boston media, the only media that's worse than them is the Montreal media. Mm-hmm. They eat their own.
Yep. But
I
Duke,
mean, worse being just
Hard on their own team.
yeah. Duke, I have a question for you, though. And I know, and I kind of agree with you, that Belichick may be wearing thin. However,
hard
there's
to complain.
But there's such a turnover in every team every year. It almost appears to me that the players really don't care about winning so much. They just don't want to be hassled by the head coach. I don't want to go in and work all that hard. And David, we talk about this all the time during the season. They don't work that hard anymore anyway. The training camps, they rarely ever practice in full gear.
Hey, look at Odell Beckham. The guy's been given his last chance about 6 different times, and he has showed zero remorse, zero maturity.
With a big doobie in his hand
and
last
a
week.
line of cocaine.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
And hanging around some French whore.
Yep, he's in Bahamas. He's got a doobie
Yeah.
about the size of my arm.
Really?
He's got 3-4 lines of
He
coke.
could do that legally in Vermont in a couple months.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know about the coke.
yeah.
The doobie.
And of
Yeah.
course, his model lady friend of the night.
She met him at the bar that night. She
Is
didn't
that
know-
what-
she didn't
She
know.
stood up for him, said that wasn't his coke, that was mine.
She thought that he was some Saudi prince.
Okay.
Well,
course, you get-
he might have almost as much money as a Saudi.
I
prince.
don't think so. But and you know what? If he doesn't shape up, he's not going to have that much. Because nobody's going to give him $100 million guaranteed.
I don't care if he gets 100 catches. I don't want
I don't
my
want him
salary
back.
cap to be ruined by giving him $20 million.
I'd get
a
rid
year.
of him now.
Yeah.
Back to Brady for a second.
Yeah.
Again, I think Colin Cowherd all said, hey, wouldn't surprise me if Brady's about to play his last season. Who knows? Not Brady's line, but the line seems to be Brady's just not a real happy guy these days. So for all his talk about playing into his mid-40s, who knows?
Listen, just go 1 year at a time. That's all you have to worry about.
Good
And
point.
listen, when Eli Manning goes down, and it's going to happen, and the law of averages, he's never been hurt. He's never missed a game in his life other than that stupid one-game benching. But I have one question, and I really don't know the answer to this, and it is a golf question. With the Masters in about, 3 weeks now?
3 weeks? How about 2 weeks from tomorrow?
Okay. The Las Vegas odds has a Mr. Tiger Woods,
Do
the
they have
favorite,
him favorite?
at 9-1. The next 4 guys is Justin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, and Rory McIlroy. Now, if I had Tiger
Vegas drives
fifth,
me crazy
I
at
could
times.
buy that. But he's 9-1 favorite to win. Seriously, I know golf, but I don't understand how he could be favorite.
Well, it's like I don't understand it. The Duke 11.5-point favorites over Syracuse to me
Well,
is
it's
absurd.
because all of
just
the
given the
fans
nature of
keep-
Syracuse, but
So,
Vegas.
knowing the golf course, who would you put your money on?
Well, if Rory McIlroy plays like he did last week,
I mean, Rory's
you can't
good.
touch him.
Justin Rose, who lost in the playoff to Sergio. Hey, Sergio's playing some decent golf.
Justin Rose
I
is
think
really
take your
good.
pick out of about 20 guys and
But I am right
Throw
to
names
kind
up
of
in
scratch
the
my
air.
head to wonder why.
Vegas. But Vegas, it's like the Patriots, They'll always have the Patriots.
They are favored to win the Super Bowl.
And it's not a
next year.
bad. Usually they're not too far off. but-
I think Jordan Spieth's going to be.
boy, Jordan's had
He won
some
today,
tough-
though.
Oh, did he win today?
Well, I think I told you guys last week he's had
Because
mono.
he didn't make the cut. Yeah, you did tell me that.
and mono, so he's been a little beat up. But at
I
Augusta,
just think it's so hard to say. There's so many. There's
at
so
Augusta,
many
you
good
got to make your
golfers.
putts.
Yeah.
In this tournament,
And Phil
Phil
certainly-
Mickelson could win.
Phil's got a
explain
shot.
this to me. The
Masters.
World Golf Championship in Austin, Texas.
going on right now. Yeah.
Is this an invite only?
Yes.
Well, no, it's not an invite. It's the top 64.
The top 64,
ranked,
that's it.
ranked
Because
players.
the
I think
purse
64.
is $10 million. There's another tournament going on this week
In
There-
Puerto
is there a
Rico.
regu-
in
Oh, is
Punta
that right?
Cana, Puerto Rico.
Where the other
And the
guys
purse
can
is
play.
only $3 million total.
No, WGC is a biggie. But yeah, I think it was the top 64 ranked. It's not who they want.
All the WGCs are only 64. There's no
Oh, is that
cut.
right?
And you guys enjoy watching match play?
I love match play. I didn't
I
watch
do
much
too.
today. I'll watch a little more tonight.
I didn't
love
record it
match.
because I thought it was starting tomorrow. It's a 5-day event, apparently.
5-day event.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love match play. I feel, you've got to, especially if you're watching one of your guys and he just has a horrible hole. I mean, there goes the thing. I mean, it's got to be nice to screw up one hole and have it not kill you.
You know who
for
won
it.
today? Ian Poulter.
Ian.
And he said-
I just
he
read a
hasn't been
story
doing
about
it.
Ian.
Yeah,
I
he's-
like Ian.
The great thing is
Mr. Ryder Cup.
with this pool play, at least you get 3
Is
matches.
that right? So everybody plays 3 times?
Everybody plays 3
That's
matches.
cool.
So
No, I think this is great. No, I love this. It's a good. It's
and
a
that
good
course,
change.
that course is kind of a cool
Looked
course.
like a nice course, Austin, Texas.
Of course, they're happy today. They found that
Boy,
bomber.
Hopefully, I guess the concern now is
Didn't
if
they
he
find
left
him-
other bombs around.
Didn't they find him dead?
Well, he
blew
blew
up? They
himself up when they were chasing
moved in
him.
on him and he blew up
himself
his own car.
I don't have
But
time.
I guess the main concern is how many more bombs he left around.
Okay.
Boy, stories like that. Imagine if you were in Austin, Texas, talking about putting just so many people on edge. Remember, it made me think of the sniper guy in Washington, D.C.?
Yes, I remember
Remember
that.
that 10, 15 years ago? Just random killings, and they were lucky to get that guy. He was like driving pretty far out of town, and somebody noticed like no plate or something really stupid is the only, or why they got that guy then.
Am I stupid to think in this day and age of easy social media that it's extremely easy to get your 15 minutes of fame, that it's just perhaps escalating these weird incidents?
Could I mean, you know what the media is like these days.
I mean, back when we were kids, we had Channel 2, French
Sure.
2, Channel 3, Channel
Sure.
5, and Montreal 12, and that was it. Now,
Yeah, that could certainly be playing into
Well,
it.
one of the things I was doing they make us do these tests
You have to take tests still?
for GM, yeah, and
like what?
Like what, like, yeah, give
Psychological
us-
test?
no. They're
If you fail, you're gone. You have to sell the
it's part of-
dealership.
To get some of their bonus money, you got to take all of.
Well, give me an example of what
Well,
a test is
what
like.
they talk about is a lot of the change in the demographics, and that's where this new generation, they all want to be on TV. They all want to be on Facebook. Everybody puts all their stuff out there on their cell phone. That's part of the deal. And there's a whole host of different characteristics. So they're different than the previous generation, and then the next generation after that will be different. But what I have read is that the millennials, who we thought were really just going to be freewheeling, granola eating, they're turning into being
More conservative and
more
paying
conservative.
attention to money and stuff.
They're getting married later, But once they get married, they want to be traditional families, and the divorce rate is less.
Really?
Regular marriage. They want a house. The kids, they want to be more like Ozzie and Harriet than you would think.
That's good to hear.
It is. Well, that formula works better than the alternative.
All the studies show a married couple has a more successful life than a.
Absolutely.
That's just a fact.
I guess you'd expect as much.
Yeah, and but things change all that. But one of the things is this new generation. They all want to be. They've grown up with all these reality shows, and everybody wants to be on TV. It's like all of Donald Trump's old girlfriends. They can't even keep their mouth shut for $150,000. They still want more.
Yeah.
Hey, 60 minutes. Stormy will get her 15, 20 minutes of fame, if that's the word.
My wife keeps bugging me. Ask David. Ask David. She's obsessed with these self-driving vehicles. Of course, that was in the news.
Oh, big
Well,
thing.
they're not having their best
A
week.
self-driving vehicle, hit a lady on a bicycle,
Yes.
killed her?
Was it a person on a bike? I thought it was a pedestrian.
No, it's a person walking their bike.
Walking their bike.
And
But there was somebody in the car, right?
yes.
Yeah, it was passenger.
Regulator or
Listen,
something?
I did a survey, whatever MSN page. How safe do you feel being a passenger in a self-driven car? And I put not safe.
Sure, you put
I
not
clicked
safe.
on that, and it was like 86 not safe to 14 safe.
Well,
No surprise to
I'll
me.
give you a couple of fun facts
and you
I
keep
got.
telling me it's just around the corner.
It's not just around the corner. It's here.
It's here?
It's here. These self-driving cars are here. Now, they've showed the
Someone said
video
to keep them out of downtown
this
Boston.
woman. She came out of the shadows, crossed, not in a crosswalk, speed limit's 40 miles an hour,
Wow.
and came right out. From what I've read, no human or a robot could have ever seen her.
Certainly, possible.
And just to give you a few little fun facts, 30,000 people get hit by a car every year in this country.
Is that right? 30,000?
With all the distracted drivers and the people playing on their cell phones, they think that these automatic drivers will reduce that by a factor of like 10.
Huh.
Because this distracted driving has increased the number of fatalities since the dawn of cars to about 10 years ago, to 2-3 years ago.
Have been going down.
The number of fatalities has gone down and the number of miles driven has gone up. But the last few years, with the distracted driving, the number of fatalities has jumped up a little bit. And with this self-driving vehicles, the one thing that they still have to figure out, and I've told you guys, they have a little trouble yet with pedestrians, and because hard things, the radar bounces back really good. But animals and people.
No, really.
Duke, I heard like maybe 3 years ago on the radio, 2015, they said a child born today will never drive a vehicle it'll all be
I don't
self-driven.
think so.
So let me ask you a simple
It's
question.
not going to get to the point. Are you telling me it's going to get to the point where there are going to be laws saying you can't drive?
No.
That would never
David,
happen, I assume.
well, I have a couple questions. A self-driving vehicle. 14-year-old kid wants to go watch a BFA Essex hockey game. Can a 14-year-old kid sit in the passenger seat?
That's a great question. I can't tell you.
And another question I have for you, and if my wife is watching, she'll say, this was the best 5 minutes of the show. She always says, your show is better when you don't talk sports. However, my question is this. You're driving home from work, David, from Burlington to St. Albans. Snowstorm is occurring as you come home. Do you feel safer with a wheel in your hands, or would you feel safer with a self-driving
Well, you
vehicle?
have to drive then. And we have a car right now that Cadillac has this thing called Super Cruise. Just came out with it. They've literally mapped every square inch of every limited access highway in the country. All these 4-lane roads, plus the cars got radar and LiDAR and all that other crap. And how it works is when you get on this 4-lane road, you hit the cruise, you can take your hands off the wheel. There's a camera in the mirror, and the mirror looks at your eyes, and if your eyes aren't on the road, the seat will buzz, and if you don't start, if you're dozing off, the car will pull over.
Really?
But it will not work in the snow.
Okay.
It will not work in the snow. Where the self-driving cars will become prevalent, I believe, is in urban areas.
Really?
Because if you take in Boston, my daughter was paying $200-300 a month to park her car.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And where the population is more dense, what you will do is you will get on your phone and you hit the app, and a car will come pick you up and take you where you want to go. But in a place like Vermont, where the population is not dense, where you got to drive yourself to wherever you're going to go, it's going to be a hell of a long time before people don't drive themselves around.
David, this is how I envision what a self-driving vehicle, what it could do for me. To one of our favorite spots. I want to go to Cape Cod. Okay? I want to be at my favorite breakfast spot in Hyannis called the Daily Planet. And I want to be there for 8 o'clock in the morning. So I jump in my self-driving vehicle along with my favorite pillow and my favorite blanket, and I put my seat down, put on the monkeys, and just like nod off and just say Hyannis, Massachusetts. That's what I'm looking for.
I think that's coming.
I don't want to be bothered for the next 6 hours, or how long does it take to get Cape?
Yeah, that's about
6 hours.
Right.
Right. I don't want to be bothered. So put on my Sirius XM. So that's what I want. You know, I don't want to like have the vehicle drive for me, but I still have to sit. I'd rather have the wheel in my hand.
But
I'd rather be a driver than a passenger.
But the thing is, they can't do anything about ice and snow and rain, because if the sensors can't see, they can't see. So it just won't go.
Okay.
And I think it's got possibilities. The other thing there that's big coming is this ride share, and like Lyft, Uber, all of that. That is coming.
So are taxis going to be
Well,
history?
they could be, but what people are finding, these Uber drivers are scumbags.
Yeah, Uber's getting some bad ink.
So you know what? When my brother and I went to Miami, we didn't take Uber. We took a cab out of the airport.
All right.
I want a regular guy that's a professional.
Yeah.
And I think, you figure it out. And they'll still always be like in these big cities.
So
They'll have cars. They still have cars pick you up.
last question. You'll be the first guy to be driving the driverless car since you have obvious access to it. When would Duke and I expect to see you come to the best damn sports show in Franklin County with a driverless car?
Never be here in Franklin County, because you got to drive. They aren't going to.
But when you, I guess I don't understand.
The
You're
only
saying
time
you wouldn't
they
see it in
really
Franklin
want-
County, but you'd see it in downtown Boston.
Yes.
With narrow streets
how about
and
Burlington?
pedestrians and bike riders all over the place.
They're safer with the radar than they are with a distracted driver.
Okay.
It's,
Nothing. This is an issue I've given zero.
Oh, my Donna talks about it.
It'll.
Yeah.
It's. We have.
As I'm about to drive, 5,000 miles or whatever.
It's coming, but hey, I was reading where
3,000.
they may have flying cars pretty soon. I mean, can you imagine if you threw the 300 million cars up in the air along with the airplanes? Oh my God!
David and Duke.
I'm sure the drones would appreciate.
You remember
cars
back
up
in the
there.
mid-'60s when we were watching the Jetsons?
Yes.
I would have predicted by now, back in 1965, 2018, will we have a flying car like George Jetson? I would have given a 1965
A Hawk
little
guarantee?
Nighthawk guaranteed by 2018 we'll have flying cars.
Well, they actually do have them, but you don't know. And then the other big thing is what will they be? What will the fuel be? I think
I don't know.
it could be gas, could be hydrogen, could be electric. Who knows?
Interesting.
Okay, with the remaining
All right,
5.5 minutes we have left, we've given the Boston Bruins not the
Short shift.
Short
attention
shrift,
they deserve. They've had a great season. They've been steady, consistent. They brought up
Ryan Donato,
Ryan
nice
Donato,
story.
Teddy Donato's kid.
Got a goal in his first
See the
game.
guy from the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
His father, of course, former Bruin,
And
now
I
the
saw
Harvard
him
coach.
earlier in the year at Gutterson with Harvard.
Oh, is that right? You saw him?
But
Got a goal in his
Boston,
first game.
as we've known now for the last 6 weeks, will be playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first
That's gonna
round.
be tough.
That sounds like a tough
The
series
Leafs,
to me.
for what it's worth, won the season series 3-1.
Really? Why are they playing such a? I mean, obviously, it just comes down to point. That sounds like a tougher first round series than it should be.
Well, here's
given
what
the Bruins'
happens.
great year.
It's a very simple matchup. The 2 wild card teams will play the 2 divisional winners. Tampa Bay Lightning being one, and the Metropolitan
Is it Washington, Pittsburgh?
Washington, I
A
think.
team that the
So
Bruins
Pittsburgh
can't beat.
will be playing. Actually, I wish I didn't have to wear glasses. Yeah, I think Pittsburgh.
Had that same thought since I was 12.
Oh,
So you and
49 years.
okay.
me, you and me both. That's about when I got glasses.
But you're right. For as great of a season the Bruins will have,
Toronto.
it's a tough matchup. But when 8 teams, make it, they're all pretty darn close to one another. And again, I use this as an example. Chicago was so much better than everybody else last year. They got, I think they got swept the first round last year.
There's been a lot of talk about how the NHL playoffs still don't have it right. Have you read anything about that?
Well, let's see. I think, boy, it was either the NBA
of course,
or
the NBA
NHL.
playoffs were getting that same thing.
Right, they were talking about taking the 16 best teams, regardless of where they're from, because the West is so top-heavy, and there are a lot of really good teams from the West that don't make the playoffs. But it could happen in the NHL.
Of course,
as
if
well.
they, with the trouble with hockey and with basketball is your league means nothing. At least in baseball, American League East, American League Central, you got the your division means something. But in hockey, when you have so many more teams make the playoffs, the league hasn't meant anything.
Yeah.
And of course, the regular season games don't mean that much.
Well, NHL hockey is the rigors of that sport versus basketball. Basketball, yeah, you have to be in shape.
You're
but
just
it's
just hanging on
Yeah.
just to get into playoffs.
Yeah.
The real hockey will start.
I just think this Toronto-Boston matchup is going to be a classic
It's
series.
going to be good.
I mean, really
Because
good.
Toronto's young and they got big guys.
Of course, the one team the Bruins can't beat is Washington. They
Yeah.
haven't beaten Washington in years, I don't think.
And
Well, you don't have
They
to worry
never
about
see
them.
them.
They never get out of the first round or the second
and
round.
a minute and a half to go. Celtics last night, big time win.
Unreal win. Of
Yeah.
course, I slept. I watched some earlier game and I was asleep. Unreal.
They were on TNT with the
man-
worst announcers in the world.
My man Jason Tatum showing some life
Tatum
these
last
days.
night went 8 for 12, 23 points,
10 or 11 boards.
11 rebounds.
Of course, that he made one free throw a few nights earlier against
Yep,
Washington.
I
That
saw that.
hurt.
Yep. Yeah. So
But boy, the Celtics. I mean, Kyrie getting a second. Do we know the second opinion? Was
he's
it?
got 3 screws in his left knee, and I'm almost thinking, if Gordon Hayward doesn't come back this year, which
the coach
appears
says
is
he's
not
not
going
going
to happen,
to.
then I would tell Kyrie, go under the knife.
I'd be tempted to say the same thing.
We may win the first round, but we're not.
This issue just sounds like it's just never going away.
Yeah.
Of course, they just have him guaranteed for one more year, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Although you're thinking now is he'll hang.
I think Kyrie loves Boston.
Well, if I knew that for sure, but I'd be tempted to deal with surgery also.
Yeah. So
Well,
guess-
does he have? What did he have? Did he break a bone?
He fractured his knee in the playoff, in the finals a couple of years ago. I think he fractured his kneecap. Yeah, we're at
30 seconds. So
yeah, 10
seconds.
well, geez, that's it. I didn't see Elizabeth. That's it. That's the end of the show for Miss Elizabeth.
See ya.
Duke, Dave, I'm the Nighthawk. Till next week. Ciao.
God.